And staying with that story, the row between longtime rivals Saudi Arabia and Iran and the fallout that is rippling through the region and beyond. Following Riyadh's lead, several states have either cut or downgraded their ties to the Islamic Republic after the Saudi embassy was ransacked in Tehran. That attack was sparked by the execution of a leading critic of the Saudi regime, Shiite cleric Nimr al-Nimr. It's, of course, a tense end to King Salman's first year in power. The anniversary of his taking of the throne is later this month. For more on what's changed in Saudi foreign policy since then, I want to bring in Robert Jordan. He was the U.S. ambassador to Saudi Arabia in the years after the 9/11 attacks. Thanks for being with us, Robert.
Thanks, Linda.
Firstly, in your opinion, did Saudi Arabia make a mistake by executing this prominent Shiite cleric?
Well, it remains to be seen. Let's make one thing clear. Nimr al-Nimr was not exactly the Martin Luther King of Saudi Arabia. He was someone inclined to incite violent acts. When he was arrested, he was helping another militant escape from the Saudi police. So the Saudis have a view that anyone who incites or promotes radicalism or violent acts against the state is just as guilty as those who perform the acts. And so this is the basis on which I think he was executed. Of the 47 individuals executed on this date, only 3 of them were Shiites, and so most of them were al-Qaeda militants who were active in attacks, for example, even on the U.S. consulate in 2004, which killed the person who had actually been my driver when I was ambassador there. So these were hardcore, militant, violent extremists by and large. It still, though, may turn out to be a mistake, and here's why. It creates, I think, an image that the Saudis are not interested in peace, that they're not interested in any kind of accommodation with Iran. There is only one answer to the conflict, and that is total victory by the Saudis. That's something to be concerned about. We have the Syrian peace talks going on now, which very much need both the Saudi and Iranian cooperation. I think we're not likely to see that progress for a while. This could turn out to be something that further inflames the region.
So ultimately, what do you think Saudi Arabia really gains from this move? And do you think we could see this spread to becoming a military conflict?
Well, I think they gain something domestically. We have a new king who's been king less than a year. His 30-year-old son is the deputy crown prince. I think he's trying to make a statement that he is a tough guy, that he's in charge of the kingdom, and that even peaceable dissent will not be tolerated. So that's a domestic message. I think he's also sending a message to the Sunni Arab world that he's going to finally stand up where they have been somewhat passive in the past and relied more on the United States. They now no longer feel they can rely as much on the United States, and so they're striking out in their own directions. And some of it is not going to be pretty, and some of it's not going to be well calibrated. But I think that's what we're going to see now, is a regime feeling its way along. They are mired in this quagmire in Yemen. They seem to have no political objective or way out. They have a declining price of oil. Their budget deficits are extraordinary. And they're going to have to start reducing subsidies to their people, which will really lead to more dissent. So I think we're in for a period of instability with the Saudis, and they're trying to grab hold of it and show that they have a decisive way forward.
And now, the United States is Saudi Arabia's biggest backer in the West, but the U.S. also has improved relations with Iran since the nuclear deal. So does the U.S. have to tread carefully here with its response?
Well, we've improved relations with Iran in the sense of having come to a nuclear deal. We don't know how well it's going to be complied with, and we also don't know how strongly the U.S. and the other united countries are going to enforce it. But no one, I think, believes this is a kumbaya moment with Iran. They are a revolutionary state geared to foment instability and violence throughout the Middle East. And I think this is something that America is still mindful of. They are not our next ally on the frontier, and I think this is something that we probably need to emphasize to the Saudis a little more.
We've already seen this sort of proxy war go on in Syria between Saudi Arabia and Iran and their forces. Do you think this could all be a step back in the fight against ISIS?
It may well. It may well create further vacuums. it may well create greater difficulty in finding any kind of moderate forces to train and assist in the process of fighting ISIS, both in Syria and in Iraq. So I think we've got a real risk here that it could destabilize our efforts in that regard.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. Former U.S. Ambassador to Saudi Arabia, Robert Jordan, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Now, the ramifications of this story are huge. The reaction is coming in from all parts of the world. We want to know what you think about it, and you can let us know your thoughts by going to our Facebook page. That's at facebook.com/CNN Connect. You can also watch all our reports there and some exclusive digital content. And of course, you can tweet me at Lynda Kinkade.